What's going on, guys? Do a quick live just to troll the internet. I bet you weren't expecting that, were you? I bet you weren't expecting me getting off the ivory tower of the shreds. Split test complete. It is what it is. It was what it was, and it will be what it will be. But there's no excuses, right? Yeah, guys. Little split test. Guys, honestly, yeah. The first round, I got way fatter than that. It was so bad. But even going back to that, it kind of sucked. Love handles. Feeling lethargic, tired. It was pretty rough. Now, let me tell you guys. Now we're going for the clean bulk. But that's going to require more work. But, show me your physique, bro. What? How old am I? I don't know. I identify as not having age. Mr. Belmar, what's your favorite Zelda game? Ocarina of Time, by far. Guys, so think about it, right? We have society blaming genetics for being overweight, right? And I feel like sometimes, and it's totally understandable, right? With the social media platform and people wanting to show their best side, and there's a lot of fake editing and yeah, there's just so much crap. So I get it why sometimes people look at other people that are shredded and not relate and be like, oh, well, it's their genetics or it's this or that. And it's a lot of excuses, right? So I had to do a little experiment myself. Round 2. But the truth is, I didn't get nearly as overweight as the first time. The first time it was a lot more and there was a lot less muscle because I had already built up muscle and then I took several months off and then I went on the experiment project. But what does that mean? I'm not truth is, you guys know I didn't want to share my befores the first time, but the reason I did this is nobody was expecting it. I thought it'd be funny. It's also instill hope for you guys that don't believe it's possible doing it in a holistic approach. In a holistic manner. So yeah, guys, think about it. It only takes 2-3 months, right? You can really change your life around. At least in the physical, and then the mental and the spiritual kind of all coincide together. So yeah. Bruh, he has a personal brand. What's your goal? Your questions are going too fast. Anyway. Dude, all the bots were not expecting that. All the goblins talking crap. Alright. I am going to answer some questions, though. I did just want to come out there and say that it's possible, right? So if you think you're overweight, right? And things aren't working, you're doing typical stuff. Because that's the issue. Nobody's thinking outside the box, right? I'm not saying I have all the answers figured out. I just like to think outside the box. One example is, don't fast, bro. You lose your muscle, bro, right? So in this journey, the shredding journey 2.0, I used a complete different tactic, right, than I did in my previous journey when I was becoming shredded. Because in my previous journey, I was even more overweight and I had less muscle mass. So it was kind of I had to do more workouts throughout the day, like micro workouts. This was more tailored to feasting and fasting cycles where I wasn't training as much, right? Because I was standing up, walking a lot. I had to do a lot of work. So I heavily focused on my fasting windows and then the appropriation of those fasting windows. What kind of fasting are you going to do? A water fast, a dry fast, ideally not in the beginning, teas, coffees, natural diuretics, all these things you have to look into because all these things can benefit. So that's more or less what I tapped into on this journey, as well as tapping into frequencies, light, from the red light spectrum all the way to just being outside in the UV light from the sun. And that played a pivotal role in this shredding journey. Complete different approach, but now I'm on a clean bulk. So yeah, that'll be interesting. But I do have a lot of work to do, and I have like a lot of programs to record. Yeah, it's just kind of like understanding the balance between like life and your training, and having an aesthetic physique and not having body dysmorphia, and being comfortable with taking your shirt off, right? Regardless of if you're 10 pounds overweight or looking shredded than ever. That's kind of like my whole take on it. It's like, become healthy. Don't become like a gym bro where you're building so much muscle mass that you're obligated, right? You are obligated to keep that composition or to keep growing by the energy input that you put, which is more food, which means your body's going to have to overwork longer to keep that. You're going to have to deal with bloating and a lot of issues. You're going to deal with a lot of glycation. You're going to get older a lot faster, right? Like, these are all things that also play into role. And then also the muscle, right? Being able to, well, extrapolate all the energy. Because what people don't realize is there's a certain mitochondrial, like, what's the word I want to look for? Not, because it's not stealing, but you're basically taking a lot away just by having a bigger body composition. And the truth is, the older you get, if you don't change your habits, right? Because your mind might still be the mind of a child, thinking you can do a new PR, right, in terms of weight, but you're in your 40s or 50s. And I see a lot of guys at the gym right now, they're walking in cranes, like walking in a crane, and then they're doing wrapping their waist, wrapping their knees, and doing crazy loads, like 4 reps, 5 reps. And I'm looking at the guys, and I'm like, dude, this guy should be doing like mobility, knees over toe, band training, several months, and then get back into it. But the truth is, like, if somebody doesn't really ask you or show disposition, like, you really don't want to share, because now you're just like wasting your time. That's just my opinion on it. Unless you really feel like you need to impart something. Are you wearing cashmere? No, this is cotton. What's the best brand of bands? I don't have a favorite band. What I can tell you is you need to take care of your bands, right? So if you go to a normal gym and you use the bands that everybody's using, there could be a likelihood that you get the band snapping. So when you have bands, you want to avoid extreme temperatures. You want to avoid extreme heat. You want to avoid extreme cold, right? Because then the band, over time, there's going to be a wear and tear and it can snap. Also, the areas where you're wrapping the band around, is it a smooth surface, or is there rust, or is it cut up, or are you doing it on a branch, right? Because all these things will actually start wearing and tearing the band, and it can snap. So it's being very careful. But I definitely attribute a lot of my physique to training with bands. Best books. What's a good book right now? You want a good book? The Common Crowd. And then just reverse engineer that information and apply it in the fitness realm, and just look how everybody's doing the same thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to shy away from like doing different things. The issue does become quite a challenge in terms of energy, right? So you have both sides of the spectrum, right? Think about this. Both sides of the spectrum always get whooped in terms of vocal, vile verbiage towards you. If you're fat, people make fun of you at the gym. Oh, look at the fat guy. Oh, look at the... And then if you're shredded, people start being, oh, who does he think he is? What is this guy doing? He's so weird. So you get both sides. So the idea here is like, go for the other side, right? And don't care what people think, and just do you. But then there's certain exercises, certain things that you do that you just don't want to do in public because it's just awkward and weird, especially if you have girls around you or tons of dudes around you. It's kind of like, and that's why I'm really keen, right, on Sun Cycle and finding havens where you can train and nobody bothers you. That's kind of like my approach. So there's different parts in nature where I'll go band training, stretching, body weight training, walks, where I know very few people are going to bother me, right? If any. I'll maybe see a deer here and there, some birds, and maybe a squirrel, and that's about it. And that's what I like. And then at night, I'll go and train. But even when I go and train at night, ideally with less people, always better. Think about like the people at the gym, okay? People sleep in a terrible position. They wake up in a car, they sit in a terrible position. They go to work, they sit in a terrible position. Then they commute another hour to go to the gym to sit in a sedentary position, right? While they're waiting for the other person to finish their reps, they're just like there waiting, right? And then they go back home, eat their food in a sedentary position. Then they go poop in a sedentary position. Then they go watch TV in a sedentary position. And then they go sleep in a sedentary position. And they're like, yeah, bro, the genetics. Like at a point, like you have to be real with people, right? Like there's this guy, we're working out together. We weren't working out together. We're working out at the same time. And he comes up to me, he's like, bro, you're shredded, dude. You look crazy jacked. I'm like, yeah, bro, I've been off of the gym for months, this and that, because I was doing my experiment. And he's looking at me, he's like, nah, he doesn't believe me. And I'm like, okay, whatever. We keep talking. And he's like, yeah, bro, I want, because he was a power lifter, right? He was like crazy weight, young kid, but he already hurt himself. He's like, yeah, bro, I kind of like pinched my lower back. My shoulders are kind of screwed up. So it sounded like he was ashamed that he had to do lower weight, right? And do more reps. Like, he's like, yeah, bro, I'm gonna have to lower the weight now, but I can't wait to get back to do heavy weight. And I'm looking at him like, bro, just do that weight and just like peak contraction, don't get injured again, right? And then that was one thing. Then the second thing is he's like, yeah, bro, I tried the whole bodybuilding thing, right? Like low fat, white meat, usually stuck with carbohydrates throughout the day, right? He's like, yeah, bro, I got really lean, but man, the girlfriend hated it. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, bro, I had no libido. Like, sex was terrible. He's like, yeah, bro, that's the thing about being shredded is like, your life sucks. Like, you just feel miserable. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, bro, I feel pretty good. So, the issue is because homie's operating off terrible food, terrible environment, tons of carbohydrates. So when he cuts the carb intake, his body starts going haywire, right? So, and then, yeah, it's a lot of things. So I can't just tell the guy, you're like, yeah, bro, it sucks. I'd be like, nah, bro, like, I think you're doing it a little bit wrong or different. And if he says I'm wrong, that's fine. I don't care. Like, but you just let people know. And I'm just saying from my personal experience. But what do I know? I was fat, got shredded just to get overweight again, just to get shredded again. But I don't think I'm going to do that another time. Kind of sucks. Now we got to go for the clean bulk. Oh. All right. What do you use for skin health? I have several routines. And the issue is when it comes to like looks maxing, right? When it comes to changing your facial features and doing the exercises, there's a time where you can overdo it, right? And then there's times where you overdo it and you're like, okay, pause. And then I took tons of months off, right? And then I realized that your face automatically, if you don't work it out, if you don't hydrate properly, like it just starts looking older, drier, right? So you kind of have to feed the skin. So I've been back on the routines. That's why I'm looking pretty good. Anyway, not being vain, just being realistic. Best book for manifestation? I don't really believe in manifestation. All right, guys. I'm going to answer a few questions and I'm probably going to bounce because I have a lot of work to do. Best way to take nicotine? I usually do tongue, sublingually, or on top of the mouth gums. So you bite it a few times and then you just release the nicotine. You could do nicotine patches or a nicotine tincture. All that works really well. Where is Luke? I have no idea. What diet are you on for the cut? I switched up my diet, but like I said, it was a lot of fasting and segmenting fasting and in a way a ketogenic approach. Oh, damn. Let's see. How do you clean bulk? Join Anime Shreds. Nate, have a problem with brain fog? Well, brain fog can be multiple things. It can be the water. It can be mold in your room and the environment. It can be EMF. It can be stress. It can be allergy to dairy products, and you're consuming tons of dairy products that have been homogenized, right? Which means basically they went through a whole process where you're basically destroying everything that you really want for the gut microbiome. So yeah, like those are a few things that could potentially cause brain fog. In my opinion, also brain fog can be conduced with terrible diet, high levels of inflammation, and then mold, right? Like if you're drinking coffee most coffee has mold. So if you don't get organic coffee, there's a high likelihood that you're drinking mold, and that can already affect. And I'm saying it because I know I've been there. In my early 20s when I was working full-time job and I was like burning out, tons of energy drinks, like doing 2-3, I think my record was like 4 or 5 monsters in a day, right? Like, and then plus coffee, plus that, drinking out of styrofoam cup, microwaving. So people are like, bro, you don't, I'm like, dude, I know, because I've been there. Like, I've done that for years. And I had my wake-up call a couple of years ago. But to each their own. What is your opinion on David Goggins and his training routine? It's terrible. And I know it's terrible because one of my really good friends, his uncle healed him up because he came with all the complaints from his training. I'm not bashing the guy. I think he's super motivating. I think he's inspired a lot of people. I like that he pushes himself. I think he's changed his body composition in a crazy way. But I have to be true, right? And I have to look at him and be like, okay, how many people should be out there running right now like he does with all the inflammation going on, with all the diabetes going on, with all the metabolic syndrome going on, with people being more bodied than ever going on, right? Like that's the last thing I want, somebody running with closed shoes that doesn't even have proper range of motion, that's full of inflammation, that with polyester, right, rubbing their testicles, with sunglasses, with sunscreen. Like, do you understand how bad that is? I don't think people understand. That's the issue. People don't understand. Because if you understand, you wouldn't be doing it. Now, I do know that he came because he was beat up, right? I'm not going to mention names like who healed him up or whatever, but yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think if you want to run marathons here and there, your body's feeling fantastic, like you can do it. I'm not bashing it, right? But like back in the day, and I'm not talking about ancient civilizations. I'm talking about Bronze Age, maybe natives now, right, in the jungle. You're like, hey, Nate, let's go for a run. I would tell you, awesome. What are we going to go hunt? Like, what are we going to go catch? Like, why am I wasting my energy? We have to survive here, right? But now with modern society, people have become super comfortable, right? And now we have more hobbies. So it's like, okay, let's go for a run. Let's go lose weight. But back in the day, it wasn't even a thing, right? Like we were meant to walk, in my opinion. I think sprints are fantastic. I think marathons, if you're young, right, and you're feeling healthy, it's good. The issue becomes the constant stress on the heart valves, the constant chronic metabolic issues that occur with people's diet, fragmented mentality, where it's kind of like, I know people, I'm going to go run 2-3 miles so I can drink 2 beers. Like, I know people like that. So you kind of have to look at it and be like, okay, are they just going around in circles, or they just like what they're doing? Like, either way, I don't think it's conducive to health. And that's just my opinion. Like, I could be wrong, but I've gotten shredded a couple times, so I must know a few things here and there. Can you eliminate gyno naturally? I think that's going to be more of an operation, to be honest. I think there's certain things you can most definitely do to reduce fat around the tit, the nipple. Yeah, you can most definitely do that. Like, there's lymphatic drainage exercises, things you can do, but it's going to get to a point where there's certain things that are going to have to require operation, which is something that you can kind of look into, right? So if you're like super overweight and you want to get shredded and you want to get all that, and then you want to get rid of the excess fat, that's fine. I don't have any problem with that. I think that's actually better because you're dealing with less skin that's just flapping around. You don't have to do it, but I don't think it's a bad thing, and I don't think people should shy away from it, right? So yeah, that's just my take on that. Tips on improving your skin condition, dieting, what you put on the skin topically, hydration, a lot of things. But the first thing I could tell you is water filter by far. Ice in your skin, all these things play a crucial role. Do you use argan oil? Yeah, sometimes. I sometimes use argan oil. I think argan oil is fantastic. It can be a little bit sticky, a little bit thick, so it can be annoying, but it's something you can put in your skin. How do you hydrate your skin, Mr. Belmar? Many ways. But usually base oils. How do you usually take vitamin D in the winter? That's a great question. You can take vitamin D, vitamin A. Those are things that I'll supplement sometimes, but ideally I try to get it from the sources. Vitamin D from the sun. I'm not sure if you can get the same benefits, to be honest, with red light in terms of vitamin D production. But I know it does have power in terms of the ATP and the mitochondria. That's a great question, though. Have you trained with the Tates? No, I honestly didn't really know who the Tates were, to be honest. Like, I knew who Andrew Tate was when I went, but I didn't even want to go to the house. Looks like, bro, I don't want to go alone. So I was like, okay, I'll go. So, yeah. And then I remember Tristan, he's like, it's like everybody's got to drink alcohol, right? Because I think what they do, their strategy, because they're paranoid, no cap, was kind of like, if you're going to get in the war room, like get everybody hammered, drunk, because their tolerance is through the roof. So it's like, they'll get you totally drunk, and then they'll be tipsy, and then they'll interrogate you and ask you questions to make sure you're legit and don't want to scam them. It's a good strategy. I mean, they do it in business. Like, people get all drunk together and run it up. But I told them, I'm like, bro, I don't drink. Like, I actually went through a whole depressed season. Alcohol had a little bit to do with it, but not that much. But I'm like, I don't drink. And he kind of persisted. I told him no. And he actually kind of took it cool. So I respect him for that. But I didn't really know who they were, to be honest. Now, like, after the whole thing blew up, I'm like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, whatever. It's fame. I really don't care. Like, fame is just eyeballs. People don't understand. Fame is kind of botted. If I'm a member of Anime Shreds, can I answer my question? Dude, honestly, I didn't even look at your questions, bro. Like, I'm like looking up, talking, and then looking down and seeing some questions. Some questions I answer in Anime Shreds only. Some things I have exclusive access only in Anime Shreds, in terms of like protocols, specific things. And just because it's things that's taken me a long time on my own personal journey to share. And truth be told, like, there's people charging thousands of dollars for a fraction of the information. But yeah, like, if you have a good question, yeah, we can answer it. The idea is, like, I would have to go back and then scroll back. And I'm not going to scroll back, guys. Total waste of time. What's up, Sai? You got anything for clear sinuses? Yeah. Peppermint oil, drainage exercise, breathe. You can do box breathing. And then on the last breath of the fourth session, completely let go, press on your nose, and start shaking your head really hard, left to right, around in circles, ideally doing it when you're sitting down, right? Because you can actually pass out. Only a few seconds. When you breathe in again, hit the peppermint oil. You can do that. You can use peppermint oil, putting it in your hands, rubbing your hands, and then creating like a hand sign and inhaling it. That helps as well. You just have to be careful to wash your hands and not rub your eyes after that. And then maybe it's also an issue of inflammation with dairy. That could be a possibility. Or it could also be, what's another thing where people get sinus? Local allergies, local season transitions. You can do bee pollen, local raw honey from your area. All those things really help, in my opinion. And also just like natural cough drops, just tea, right? Like, just do hot water, cayenne pepper, lemon, ginger, freshly grated ginger, maybe a little bit honey. And that's good. How much do you weigh? I honestly don't weigh myself, to be honest, that much. Right now, I think I'm at 185, 185, maybe 180. I went up to 220, and then I shredded all the way down to 170 or 165. And then I've been up on the bulk again. and I'm 6'1". But I identify as I'm 6'4". Just give me some stilts. Alright guys, honestly I'm probably gonna bounce because I gotta get back to work. I just wanted to troll the people. Yeah, it's easy to get shredded if you have... It's not easy, it's simple. But the thing is, you gotta think outside the box and not do what everybody's doing. That's just my take on it. Peace guys.